Well, it's that time again when you can tune into Kochie's Business Builders with one click on your computer, your laptop, your iPad or your smartphone. Now, ahead of us today, some not to be missed advice to help make your business more profitable, and I'll answer your burning business questions. But first, news you can use. And it looks like the days when business trading hours starting at 9 and finishing at 5 are gone. Get ready for 24/7, 365 trading. These are the hours that customers expect your product and services to be available for sale. Not only does this mean that you have to be online, it also means you need to be available via mobile devices. If eBay figures are anything to go by, then the question is not when you go online to satisfy these expectations, it's when you go mobile. From the eBay apps alone, more than $13 billion was traded via mobile in 2012. As arguably the leader in mobile commerce, it's worth taking note that this sector of eBay's business is growing at more than 120%. Creating a mobile app for your business could mean your loyal customers are only one click away whenever they have their phone or tablet with them. They're not restricted to normal shopping hours or sitting at a desk. Instead, they can access your business in their downtime, on the commute home, watching TV, in bed, just about anywhere really. So as a small business owner, be prepared to enter the mobile arena. Even if you're not ready to create a mobile app just yet, look into making your products available via other companies' apps. Marketplaces, payment mechanisms, shopping comparisons, product reviews, search companies and so on. The experts say we're facing a new way of commerce. M-commerce, M for mobile, so get ready. Now, so many small businesses dread the day when big businesses with their deep corporate pockets move into town. Of course, it's almost impossible to compete head-to-head with the big guys on price and resources, but it really doesn't have to spell the end. Our sales expert, Kieran McGuigan, joins Alex Brophy to talk about the strategy small businesses can adopt to help them differentiate themselves and not just survive, but thrive in the marketplace.
Thanks for joining us, Kieran. So what strategies can small businesses put in place to compete against big business when it comes to town?
You know, one of the things I think a lot of businesses don't actually realize, and this is true for big businesses as well as small businesses, is that one of their points of difference is them. You know, they're the point of difference. The conversations that they have, they're part of the brand, and this is particularly true for small businesses. You know, that's the face that the customer sees, talks to, etc. And there's a value to that a lot of customers don't get when they shop in a larger store. So it's a lot more difficult for the big businesses, particularly in retail, to get the service levels right for that customer. And it's a lot easier, particularly from a competitive point of view, for the person behind the smaller or more local shop to get it right and to really engage with the person. Now that means that the product or the service that's being offered is as much about the conversation we're having as it is about the widget that's being handed across a desk. If there were three things I would say that all businesses, big and small, need to relate to, and it's the three key things that are absolutely rock solid and can get diluted as businesses get bigger, is the idea. What is the product or the concept that's being offered to the marketplace? And where's the value in that for the customer? The next thing is the list. Do you have a list? You need, because everything at the end of the day boils down to a list. And it's either going to be a list of customers you already have or customers you'd like to have. And there's nothing wrong with having a big whiteboard and drawing, and if you like, a picture of all the attributes of what your ideal customer is like. And then subsequently go out and find them. Because once you decide that they're this particular, and I'm talking about geographic and demographic criteria. So age, sex, location, background, experience, needs and wants. And building that concept in your mind of who they are and what they are. And then creating a list based from available resources. Because you'll only, if you're a small business, you can only cover pretty much a localized area if you've got a larger product or service that needs to be moved. And then the final thing, so you've got the idea of the concept that's being offered, the list, okay? And then the final thing is the channel of communication. You know, either the telephone or the local newspaper or face-to-face. Those three things need to be managed and leveraged at every level, in big businesses and small businesses, and understood. So a lot of people in business spend time in it rather than managing the business, if that makes sense.
And what about specific approaches for retailers versus B2B businesses?
Okay, I think that there's a couple of things that retailers don't do and need to get better at. And one is they need to start working more on the numbers side of things. That means counting how many customers are walking through the door, literally. So if I was speaking to a retailer, I want to know how many customers come in on a Tuesday as opposed to a Thursday. How many of them are walking out with a product under their arm or have purchased? How many of them are just looking? What strategies do you have in place to retain them or keep them in the shop or gather information about who they are and where they do? Most people would be familiar with being at the checkout and the service or till operator asks them what suburb you're in. Now, I think that's a basic piece of information that everybody should gather in a retail environment, but perhaps you can do a little bit more. You know, one of the things that we can all do is ask for people's names. Everyone loves having their name spoken out loud. So as when someone walks in and you say, "Oh, hi, John," even if it's been a couple of months, and it's a hard skill to master is to remember people's names. But by doing so and becoming more familiar, people will choose to come into your store. And that's the key thing in retail. They have to choose to come in.
And what sort of things can you do to ingratiate yourself to the local community?
Okay, I think it's absolutely key that you offer value. I think that's true for any business. But if you're in a community, the first community that you've got are the people that work for you in your shop. Okay, so you can't profess to be running or adding value to the community if the people that are working for you aren't enjoying their work. So you've got to make that not necessarily the most fun environment in the world, but you've got to make people enjoy coming to work and working with you, and that will reflect back on the customers when they're coming in. The next thing you've got to decide in terms of strategic environment that you want to be in. Now, a lot of small businesses will get involved in sponsorship events, whether it's Surf Life Saving, the local golf club, the RSL, whatever it may be, based primarily on their own personal interests as opposed to the objective interests of the business. But there's a wealth of other people within the business who've got other interests and can open up other ways of building links into the community. Now, again, that has to be evaluated because you could spread yourself very, very thinly and being busy in the community without actually generating the purpose of that activity, which is to generate, if you like, goodwill or traffic into the retail environment.
And looking across to B2B businesses, is it a similar personalised approach that's going to win out there?
Well, in B2B, you sort of move through the looking glass a little bit and into a slightly different world. And what I mean by that is that in a B2B or business-to-business environment, you're selling into a much more of a rational decision-making environment. You're also selling products and services, so it's less emotional. Okay, so people are making decisions based on logic as opposed to emotion, initially. At the end of the day, people always buy from who they want to buy, but they'll often disguise it or present it as a rational decision. The next thing is that often decisions, particularly depending on the price or how your product or service is offered to that organization, the decisions will be made by a group or a panel of people. So you need to influence several people as opposed to one customer. And that requires a certain degree of strategy or approach. And I would go back to this idea of having a list, find 10 or 12 businesses, and often most businesses that sell into what I call a B2B environment haven't actually just drawn up a list of the businesses in their own building. I mean, that should be the first point of call. It's like, who are the other businesses in my building, and do I know them? So, meet them, get to speak to them. Let them know that you're there and that you can choose, or they can choose rather, to do business with you if they've got a need. And people will work that way. But it requires a much more of a rational or unemotional strategy as opposed to a more customer-centric or people-centric strategy on the retail side.
Some great insights there, Kieran. Thanks for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
French-born David Koch runs a really popular cafe selling his gourmet food range, but has been looking for a bit on the side, as they say, to help him grow the export sales of his business. I sent in Gordon Slater, chairman of Export Award winner, the Byron Bay Cookie Company, and Austrade's Tim Harcourt to share their secrets to success.
David, you're about to undertake an amazing growth story, and Gordon, you've got quite a story to tell yourself, don't you?
Yeah, in looking at growth and looking at export, the reason that we started off was that we were very big in Australia, and we knew that we had a product that was doing very well, and we were a market leader in our category in jars in cafes. And then going to London at one stage, we realised that there wasn't any cookies in jars in the London market. And so we had this wonderful opportunity, which we knew would expire because the UK cafe market was really taking off. So that's when we started off in London. And we started off by taking our product along and saying, there's a product which we think you'll be able to sell for about £2, and them not believing us. So we then had to set up our own distribution network and our own sales force in London, which was very expensive, to prove to people that you could sell it. And then, of course, as it took off in central London, it sort of moved very quickly out into the periphery. And then we started to bolt in our other products. So we started to go to all the different flavour ranges. We had like 20 flavours and try to test out which ones worked. And then we managed to get into Harvey Nicks and so forth. So that's what I think is, when you're looking at what you're going to do, is to figure out which product is the one that you think will be the one that'll crack the nut for you, and then to bring in everything else behind it. And the jam you were saying is one of the ones that you think might do it for you.
That's something actually, probably getting into the cafe market with the bulk jar, like a strawberry and vanilla jam, create a demand and then suddenly have the jar available. Yeah. That's a good idea.
And you've got, also when you think about what things that you have available that might, from a point of sale perspective, and also telling the story, because whenever you sell something, you need that emotion behind it. And massive corporations spend millions of dollars every year trying to create that story, whether that product's going to add life or whatever it is. And you're not going to have that ability, but you've got a book, which I think the book is another wonderful thing. That the book does leap out. And the great thing that you've done in that, and I think that this is important, particularly when you're small, is to make sure that all of your point of sale and all your labels all link in. So you're instantly recognisable, so you make the most of it.
Right, time to start answering some of your questions that you're sending through Facebook and also through the website and Twitter. This one from Todd in Queensland. Todd writes, I have a consultancy company, but I'm finding it very difficult to build trust and relationships over the phone and email when my product is expert information. Do you have any advice for how I can win over potential clients over large geographic areas? Todd, it's a really good question, because so many businesses are not about selling a material object, a product that people just see and visualise. A lot of it is information, it's specialty. Look, a starting point is to make sure you have a terrific website, and also a good use of video on your website. Video is now becoming one of the most powerful marketing tools on website, particularly a business like yours, because if it's really high-end information and expert information, clients are able to see you, to eyeball you, to get a sense of you, of whether they trust you or not. You have the ability to show your passion, to explain what you can do for a customer and how your service can revolutionise what they're doing. So, number one, have a good website. Number two, have a powerful video, and cross-promote that video in all the marketing that you do. Even when you send an email to a client, say, hey, I know it's hard to comprehend what I'm offering here. Click on this link and go direct to our website and see the video where it's all explained. So use of video and also the use of you is the most powerful aspect of marketing there, and also networking as well. Face-to-face networking, organisations could be another thing to try. So good luck with that. Let us know how it works out. Well, that's all we have time for this week. We will catch you next time on Kochie's Business Builders.